Hi there, my name is Toby, and I've spent most of my life training internal and external Kung Fu and various body practices. And I've discovered a particular way of training that I do, and it's quite unique, and this is what I do myself personally. And on this channel, I'm trying to share it with you because I haven't seen anyone else with quite this same approach. So it is unusual, it is new, but it's what I do, and you're welcome to follow me and have a go and see how you enjoy it or not. So this simple follow along routine you can practice, so I'll explain to you what it is I'm doing or trying to do. But these exercises are easy enough, you can literally just copy me by watching. But I'm trying to explain to you what I'm doing internally. There's an internal practice. And the secret really all boils down to this: opening the joints. And if you do Tai Chi, Qi Gong, or any of these practices, yoga, you'll find that is what they're trying to do: open the joints. In other words, stretch through the skeleton. It's not so much the muscles that I'm using, it's the bones. So this internal practice is about bone structure and alignment. So here you see I'm standing in a neutral stance, upright spine, and I'm doing circles with my shoulders, gradually bigger and bigger circles. And I'm inhaling as I stretch up, exhaling as I sink down. But what am I doing is expanding, opening the shoulders. So each inhale I'm stretching open the joints, arching back, opening the rib cage, opening the shoulders, feeling a stretch in the scapula, even looking up a little bit, so I've got a stretch in my neck. And the circles are getting bigger, but it's not so much the bigger circles, it's the bigger stretch in my shoulders. It's internal training. The only way you can do this is by feeling. You have to have awareness. There's a mind-body connection. So you can copy the movements, they're easy enough, but what's hard to copy is the internal practice that I'm doing. I have to describe that to you. So now even here, twisting left and right, it's all about alignment. Now here, stretching out to the sides. The arms are straight, but what am I doing? Stretching up the spine and trying to stretch the shoulders apart. Now I'm rotating the hands forward and backwards. So I'm rotating the shoulders and the scapula. Inhale as I rotate up and look up. Exhale as I rotate forward and look down. But it's all about the shoulders and the arms. I'm trying to stretch through the skeleton. And if you think about the internal energy of the body, this flows also through the bones. The bones are electrical. They are piezoelectric. So if you get the bones in the right alignment, the energy is going to travel through better. And if you stretch the bones apart with that right alignment, what's happening is you're creating a gap between the bones, and you can imagine that gap in the joints is creating a voltage difference between the bones. You're creating a bubble of energy in the joints. So this is a method of developing this internal energy. So even there, just simple rolling of the shoulders is all about opening the joint. Now I'm doing the hips. Again, standing up nice and tall, just rolling each hip outwards. But the leg is fairly relaxed. It's not about the movement of the leg so much as the hip joint itself. And now rotating the hip joint, bend both knees, sinking a weight into one leg so I can rotate the other leg in and out with a bent knee. But again, it's the hip joint. I'm trying to feel the full rotation of the hips. And even on the supporting leg, I'm sinking into that hip. Now with more straight legs, again, isolate the hip joint, rotate it in and out. So I'm pointing to the hip itself. You're trying to activate the tendons and the ligaments in the joint. These are stronger and elastic, and these will control the joint itself. Now once you've got the feeling of that, I'm trying to do both hips together. So here I'm sinking into a horse riding stance and just shifting the weight left and right. But again, I'm trying to feel into the hips. I've got a backwards arch, a nice tall neutral spine, pull the belly in, shoulders up and back. But here, shifting left and right. The knees are open in the front, so that stretches the hips in front. But I'm also sitting down into a chair, projecting the hips back, so they're open at the back. Now leaning side to side. You see, I project the hip out, right out, like I'm sitting down in a chair. Lean to the side, feel the hip bone project. I can actually feel the bone in the hip separating. The thigh bone is separating. And then I lever forward and project the hip backwards as well. You're really trying to isolate the joints. Feel the bones move. I'm trying to move the bones and stretch the ligaments in the hips. and now here's both hips together, stretching forward and back. But notice the spine stays the same, a backwards arch, and I keep that backwards arch but lever at the hips only. And now I squeeze the glutes and stand up tall. So it's all between the glutes and the hips. Now again, see from behind here, I'm sinking down into one hip and projecting it back like I'm going to sit on a chair. So in the middle, I've got both hips stretched. Then I go to the side, project out the hip bone, and sit into a chair, keeping a neutral spine. You see there's a slight backwards arch, a slight backwards projection of the hips, but the hips are also open in the front. I'm stretching. And if you get the hang of this, it feels like you're sitting in a chair. When you sit down like this in a horse riding stance, you're sitting into the stretch in your hips. And in Tai Chi, they call this the Qi, the bridge. There's a bridge across the back of your hips, and if you can activate this, it's a very powerful spring, a stretch in the hip joint, and this will hold up your body weight and give you a bounce in the step. So again here, hands on the hips, gently shifting my weight left and right. You see the knees go over the toes and they point in the same direction, very important. The knees must bend over the toes in the same direction, no twist in the knee. Twisting should only happen in the ankle and the hips. Now bouncing on the toes. Bounce on the ankles. So the ankles themselves have got to stretch. There's got to be a stretch in the ankles. Now all the way up through the body. Big breath in and a big breath out as the hands come down. Now we're going to start trying to put this thing all together. So this is called embracing the tree. Very simple Qi Gong posture. Standing up nice and tall, arms and legs bent halfway, fingers are open a little bit. I'm moving towards the ball of the foot. I'm taking my weight forward. Now all I'm doing is inhaling and exhaling and expanding this simple structure. You see the arms and legs stay bent, but you can see I'm moving. Now I'm trying to move internally, expand the spine as I inhale and relax and collapse as I exhale. Expand from the spine, the rib cage, the shoulders, the neck, then into the arms, right to the fingers, and the same with the hips. Expand the hips down through the knees to the ankles as I inhale. But notice the belly is pulled in. There's always a slight tension in the belly. This supports the lumbar spine. I'm trying to breathe to the back of the ribs. Now from that position, I twist to the side a little bit. So now this becomes more dynamic. Here's the middle position, but as I twist to the side, I'm stretching open the joints. The lead hand rises up a little bit, and the back hand sinks down a little bit. I shift my weight into the front hip a little bit, and twist the back hip a little bit. So now I've got a twist through the spine, but still an expansion through the rib cage. The sternum is tilted up. I'm arching backwards, and I'm expanding into the scapula, into the shoulders, but they're still up and back. The shoulders still up and back. I'm just expanding from this good alignment. The same in the hips. I'm sinking into a chair in the front hip, but I'm also reaching up, squeezing the glutes a little bit. So I'm driving the hips forward, but I'm resisting that. I've still got to keep the good posture. So now I'm on the ball of the foot. I'm actually got a little bit more of a bounce. So I'm stretching from the ankle, through the knees, through the hips, through a twist in the spine, then through a twist in the shoulders and a stretch in the shoulders out to one hand up and one hand slightly down. This is getting more dynamic, like martial arts itself. And there is a whole branch of internal Kung Fu called Yi Chuan. Yi Chuan. It means, it's essentially, Yi is your intention, your Qi, and fist. Chuan means fist. So you're using your intention to fight. But remember, internal Kung Fu Tai Chi is not fighting. So there's a lot of confusion about this. This here is a fighting stance. This you could call each one, and they practice a stance like this. Very dynamic stance. But it's all internal. I'm just trying to feel the stretch through the joints. I've got a bounce in the ankles. I'm feeling that twist through the hips. Belly pulled in tight, activating the obliques, expanding the rib cage and stretching out right to the fingers, right to the crown of the head. And I'm feeling this stretch and then bouncing through the stretch. I've got to get the alignment of the bones correct. Without that it won't work. And then I've got to stretch through the joints, opening of the joints, and again without that it won't work. And this can be used for martial arts, but of course this training is just an exercise. This is an internal exercise. This is simply body dynamics. You need to apply this to combat tactics. Combat tactics is something totally different. A totally different thing. This is just exercise. Now here what I'm doing is stretching up, hands come up in a big circle, then exhale, and that's an inhale. Inhale, hands push down. But with this big circle, I'm trying to open the joints. Arch back, stretch up, stretch the shoulders, rotate the shoulders, keep that backwards arch, lifting the shoulders as the hands come down. So it's not so much about the movement you do, it's about the internal control of the joints. It's all internal. Now to finish off, hold your hands on your belly like this and just twist left and right. Here you collect the chi in your belly, behind the hands. You can imagine in your belly the energy spinning round and round in a horizontal plane around your waist, and this is called the chi belt. And just relax, shake it all out, so at the end make sure you're relaxed and you continue your day with that nice good alignment. Remember, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. This is internal body dynamics, structure and alignment. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little workout, and I look forward to seeing you in any of these other videos here.